Hi guys. So let's all take in my very wet hair and my lovely bluey shirt. It is Bandit and it says, "What up, party people?" I know it's backwards for you guys, I'm sure. But I just wanted to get a little comfy cozy and talk about some Seeking Sister Wife again. We're catching back up. We're almost there, guys. We're almost to the episode that aired this week. In fact, if my timing is right, I should be able to get that one out to you guys on Saturday, because Sunday I'm not going to be available. If you leave comments, I'm not going to answer them on Sunday. You're welcome to leave them and I will answer them on Monday, but Sunday is my 35th birthday and my 7th wedding anniversary. So I'm going to be spending that time with my husband, with my kids, and doing some other things. So don't get offended if I don't answer you right away. I will get back to you, but it's going to be Monday. So are we ready? If you're new here, hi, I'm Cozy. I like to talk about sister wife related reality television shows here on YouTube. I do like to remind you these videos are for entertainment purposes only. These aren't facts. They're just my opinions about public figures sharing their lives publicly. So if we're cool, we're cool. And we're going to jump into it because the Ryans are back. And Becky is trying on dresses with people who seem young enough to be her kids, but they aren't introduced to us immediately. She's explaining that she's going to a Mexican restaurant, and I think that she's meeting Yari on this particular evening. So one of the fashion gurus she has with her is her sister-in-law, Carolina. I think it's Carolina. They didn't say her name, so I'm going to assume. Who's like, "What look are you attempting to achieve?" And Becky's like, "I think just sort of a fun vibe. You know, it's Yari's birthday, and so this is sort of an awkward way to spend a birthday. You're seeing someone, and now they want to bring their wife on your birthday dinner. Awkward. Awkward for sure." So the other person is Becky's daughter, Nancy. And so the women are like, "Hey, you don't want to outshine the birthday girl, or do you?" No, you don't. Don't outshine the birthday girl. Let's just be kind. And Becky agrees. Listen, she's super excited to meet Yari for the first time, but she wants Yari to know that Becky is able to be that person who understands that birthdays are special. There are going to be special days for Yari, and she's completely fine with making sure that Yari feels special on those days. So I guess that's great. I guess. But Becky's explaining that Justin met Yari online, and I'm going to go back over this real quick because we haven't seen them for a while, but he was upfront about being married on his profile, but Yari didn't seem to get that. Didn't seem to understand he was looking for a second wife. Hey, Becky, a lot of times when people say, "Hey, I'm looking for a second wife," what they mean is that they've been divorced from their original partner and they're looking for a new partner. They don't necessarily mean that they're looking for polygamy. So the colloquialism that you're using doesn't come across as clearly if you're not very, very clear. She does say, though, that there are pictures of her and Justin both on that dating profile, so maybe people should have picked up. I still can't put it entirely on the other individual. Y'all have to step up and say stuff. So Yari had mentioned on her previous date with Justin, this is an important thing to remember, that she'd never heard of polygamy. She doesn't really know anything about it. And also at the end of that date, she said, what would Becky do if she decided she just wanted Justin all to herself? So this is going to go down in flames for sure. Becky says that this is so very different from Stephanie, because with Stephanie, they met online and she was able to kind of talk to her, get this vibe, start this relationship before they ever met in person. And now she's only going off of whatever Justin has told her. She's got no vibes, no feelings, nothing that she can look to hold on to this. And she's feeling like she really just sort of needs to catch up with Justin at this point. Carolina tells us she doesn't really have an idea of what goes on in a relationship like this. So she really doesn't have a ton to say, but she's approving of whatever makes them happy, I suppose. And then she's very concerned that Becky and Justin have 6 kids together, meaning that Becky is going to have perhaps a very special place in Justin's heart. And therefore, Yari might feel like there's just not enough time, space, or place for her. I'm sorry, sir. I covered your seat. My co-host has arrived. I'm going to move some things for him. Do you want up? Go ahead. Go ahead. All right, he might come up. We'll see. Oh, there he is. While Becky is super excited about this dinner, she really thinks that this dinner's super important. She wants Yari to like her because this could be the make or break moment where Yari decides, hey, do I want to continue dating you guys or no? Well, Becky, she's not dating you. She's dating Justin. She's never even met you. As far as she knows, you're the wife who approves of him having a mistress. You aren't even factoring into the picture yet, and while that sounds mean, it's pretty honest. When they get into the car to go, Justin's really concerned that Yari's not even going to show up. And Becky's like, listen, she agreed to meet me. Why wouldn't she show? And Becky is too optimistic for her own good. She really thinks the world is just filled with bunnies and butterflies and rainbows and kitten kisses. But when things throw her a curveball, I would not want to be around when Becky finally gets angry. Like, we haven't seen that really, but when she finally gets angry, I don't want to see it. This woman sort of gives me Michelle Duggar vibes, but if Michelle Duggar were Robin Brown. Does anybody understand what I mean? Like that nicey, but you know when it goes down kind of thing. Justin says, like, listen, people back out of promises all the time. And Becky gives us, like, tense, yeah, that's true. That does happen to us, kind of thing. I get it. We're still mad at Stephanie. Is what it is. They arrive, and Becky shares with us that, again, that this is her first meeting with Yari. And Becky's like, Yari meeting me and liking me is going to be the thing that unlocks the understanding of this lifestyle and relationship for Yari. No, it's not. That's okay, though. I hate to tell her that I don't think that anything is really going to make Yari understand the relationship they're looking for, because the relationship they're looking for seems very out there to a lot of people. I do think, though, that it's a little bit weird to me that Yari sort of seems down with the idea of this, like, mistress vibe. Like, she's willing to date Justin in this capacity. I don't know, maybe this is just too far outside of my own comfort level for me to really understand what's going on here. I don't get it. I don't understand the idea of a woman wanting to be a mistress and do those kinds of things to a family. I just don't. I never will. So, Justin's talking about how he thinks that he and Yari are vibing, but he really needs Yari to meet Becky because they all three need to vibe together. So he jumps out of the car, hugs her, introduces her to Becky. Becky and Yari hug. It's very kind. She's complimenting her. And on the couch, she's like, yeah, Yari's obviously Justin's type. She's like, Yari's Latina. She's a workout girl. You mean she exercises. That's what you mean. Justin simply agrees with yeah, Yari's hot. I hate that. They get a table and Justin's trying to pull out chairs for both ladies, but he's just not quick enough. I think it was Becky sat down too fast. And he's like, Yari and I have been able to talk and connect on these previous dates. I really need to see how she interacts with Becky. I need to see how they're going to interact together. And he reminds us that Yari had never heard of polygamy before this. And so they're going to have to take it slow. Okay. The whole thing is tense and awkward. Every question that Becky asks Yari, it's short answers. There's nothing to build on. What do you like to do for fun? I go to the gym after work. Not much else there. It's very little build on. They're eating in silence. Everybody's feeling awkward. And Justin's like, listen, on this date, since we're all together, Yari's a lot less flirtatious. She's a lot less affectionate. She's way more reserved. Duh. Of course she is. This is a strange circumstance. She is essentially going out with her, for lack of a better term, boyfriend, who has now brought his wife on the date. And she's been dropped into something that she already told you she doesn't understand, she's never heard of, she doesn't know what this is. I cannot imagine what it would be like to sit in on a date with my husband and some other woman. I think I would snap. I think I'd lose it. Honestly, I think I would. Becky asks about the previous date, and Yari's very laconic. She doesn't want to say much at all. She gives super short answers, very little for Becky to go off of. So, of course, Becky's just going to jump in there both feet because she's got nothing else. So she's like, did you guys discuss anything important? Maybe future plans? Yari's sort of taken aback, and Justin has to step in and be like, that might be a little too early for a first date. Becky gives this, like, awkward smile and eyebrow raise, and she's like, I'm such a strong personality. A lot of people are turned off by that. I get that. I have a strong personality, but even as an outsider, I can't help feeling blindsided by some of the questions that Becky's giving. She is super forward, and I'm like, whoa, calm down. As a strong personality to a strong personality, sometimes you need to learn when to take the back seat, Bex. So, she says, did you guys share a nice kiss? And now Yari is looking back and forth between Becky and Justin. Do y'all know the Hamilton song where the lyrics are like, Mr. Vice President, Mr. Madison, Senator Burr, what is this? That's what this feels like. She's like looking between them like, hey, Mr. Vice President, Mr. Madison, what is this? Like, she looks panicked. And Yari's like, yeah, we kissed. And she laughs a little bit. And she's like, did he tell you? And Becky's like, of course he told me. He tells me everything. He's being honest. And like, I don't know, the phrase leaks like a sieve comes to mind. I can't imagine where I would have gotten that from. Anyway, so Yari's like, I'm so nervous. I don't know what Becky's going to do or say. I don't know if she's going to be jealous, if she's going to be angry. She doesn't know Becky. And so Becky's like, doesn't bother me. It lets me know how the date went. And she's like, that's the female's gauge, how that first kiss went. While I very much so remember my first kiss with my husband, I'm going to tell the story because I'm going to see, again, if he watches these videos. The first time that he kissed me, he was leaving my apartment, and he was standing there awkwardly, and then he said, I'm going to say it this way, oh crap, and then grabbed me and kissed me, and that was the whole story. But it was funny because he obviously was battling and then let that out of his mouth and went for it, and worked out. We got married a year and 5 days after we met, and like I said, on Sunday it'll be 7 years, so we've been together for 8. It's the bestest. And while there's validity to like, how'd that first kiss go, I do kind of think that whole thing is very Hollywood, very fairy tale, because not everybody's first kiss goes great, and you still end up happy together. So I don't know. Justin tells us that he's kind of upset and really wishes that Becky hadn't brought up the kiss because this is really early. Yari is already uncomfortable. She doesn't know how to discuss these things with her. And Becky is just diving in to Justin discuss the details of our lifestyle with you. And Yari's first question is, yeah, why and how do you decide to do this? Well, Yari, Becky was raised in this thing called a cult by a crazed man who thought that he was a pastor, but really he was a wackadoodle, in my opinion. And I think the opinion of the United States courts. So, no, Becky says that it just was something that they'd always wanted to do, and this was where they felt like it was the right time to dive right in. Okay, Yari's like, so you don't get into like a normal marriage routine? And Justin's like, yeah, same as everybody else. No, it's not. Not in having a sister wife. It's not the same as everyone else. Becky's like, do you think this is something that you could see yourself doing with us long term? Girl, slow down. This woman has barely answered a question that you've asked with a full sentence, let alone wanting to jump in and be your sister wife right this second. Yari says, you know what? I told Justin this was something new. And Becky's like, yeah, I know. He said that you didn't even know what polygamy was. And I was like, how did you find the one person who doesn't know what polygamy is? Firstly, that feels like you're talking down to her. Don't do that. Secondly, more than one person doesn't know what polygamy is, Becky. This is not as normal as you think it is. Just because you think it's normal doesn't mean it's normal to everybody else. I don't know when the first time I heard about polygamy was, but I know that it involved the Warren Jeffs cult. That was the first time that I really understood what that meant. So I was probably, I don't know, whenever Warren Jeffs got arrested. That was when I started to really figure it out. So slow down. You are putting way too much pressure on everybody in this room. But Yari keeps going, and she's like, reality is, a lot of couples have somebody who has someone else, and their spouse never knows about it. And Becky's like, yeah, instead of getting cheated on, the wife has this super great benefit of having a best friend, someone to share their life with. No. No. That isn't how that works. It's just not. Sorry. But Becky's like, listen, we're patient and considerate while people are making their decisions. And she's like, I really think that there's a possibility Yari could work out as a permanent sister wife. But we definitely need to spend more time together. Yari does agree to continue dating them. And Becky's like, the best case scenario is that they all get along and Yari wants to make this permanent. As opposed to a temporary sister wife. Oh, I guess that's what she had with Stephanie, I guess. Yari's like, I think Becky's really sweet. I feel very comfortable having met her. And Justin's like, best case scenario is Yari wants to do this and we all move in together and live happily ever after. Okay. I don't know who wrote this fairy tale, but it feels like it might have been written by the Brothers Grimm. And those don't usually end well. So, hop, skip, and a jump right on over to the Davis family, where we're kicking off this episode with a horse-drawn carriage, or should I say unicorn-drawn carriage, because they have affixed a horn right to that pretty white horse, and it looks lovely. I'll give Nick credit here. This is a great date. He is taking Jasmine out for the first time, and they are dressed to the nines. They both look pretty good. I mean, I'm not for that lime green necessarily, but hey, Nick, do you. He is definitely attracted to Jasmine. He says that she's prettier than he is, so that's a bonus. That's a weird comment. If my husband said, "You're prettier than I am," I wouldn't know what to do with that information. And they're taking this sunset carriage ride through the city. And I am definitely more of a rural girl. I grew up in a decent sized city. I did. It's decently sized. Medium. And I really do like to visit the bigger cities like Cleveland and Columbus, maybe even Pittsburgh. That's pushing it though. The roads in Pittsburgh are... Y'all, if you've never been to Pittsburgh, just know if you have to drive there, say all your prayers, do all of the things you need to do, and get right, because I can't guarantee you're coming out of that. Me personally, I like to be in the mountains. I don't really want to be out in the city all the time, but it is pretty. I like to visit it. Actually, frankly, I've recently been reconsidering the options of where I want to go, because I said Montana and the Dakotas, and husband put his foot down. But you know, like, the mountains of West Virginia wouldn't be too bad. I could see my way into West Virginia. But when I see this carriage ride, I am definitely reminded that there are some really great reasons to visit cities and to just kind of see and go and do things. Jasmine is definitely just a touch awkward, kind of unsure what to do with her hands. She's got them in her lap. She's kind of keeping herself, sort of trying to maintain this appropriate boundary because she's not 100% sure what that is. And this makes complete sense because she's never done this before, and Nick's family does things a little bit differently. So the expectations would be all over the place for her, I think. She says that Nick is easy on the eyes and is something that she wouldn't mind looking at for an extended period of time. Nick is not my cup of tea. That doesn't mean he's not someone else's cup of tea. Frankly, I really prefer looking at my husband for an extended period of time, and I will definitely be doing that later. Jasmine's very frank, though, and she says her biggest concern is acclimation, because her relationships are generally monogamous. Nick says he's really excited to get to know her, and after she hit it off with the ladies, things seem like they could be a good fit, you know? And she's like, your wives are great. They all have their own quirk, she says. And Nick agrees that they definitely do. He shares how he's not sure how much of their structure and dynamic the women all got to discuss on that first date, but they keep spiritually grounded in science and mathematics, which is definitely a weird thing to jump in with, but I wonder if it's because her very large necklace says Scorpio, and so he's kind of heading things off at the pass with thinking, hey, I'm not really into that. I do suppose it's important to know, obviously, my spirituality, if you want to call it that, is grounded in faith and a belief in the divinity. I don't know that I would fit in with their family very well if they anticipate strictly science and mathematics. He's like, we like to keep our feet on the ground. And Jasmine agrees on the validity of science because we do have things, we have evidence for things working and growing and adapting. And she's right, we do. She says that her parents raised them very eclectic. Her mother's a reverend who studied 8 different religions and sort of took her along. Jasmine said, put me through them all, I think is how she phrased it. She was very curious about things that people would say about different spiritual aspects of their life. And so she says, but we're pagan, and so we tend to attract the most outward of relationships. I definitely notice these two are using a lot of words to say very little. It's this like pseudo-intellectualism that tends to alienate others, and I'm not a fan of it. I prefer a very say what you mean conversation. We don't need excess flowery language. I like to use words to paint a picture, but there comes a point where it's you're not saying anything. Just say it straightforward. And I get that from Nick and from Jasmine here for sure. Jasmine shares that being a pagan, what being in a pagan household means to her. She said they've had a lot of diversity around them, diversity of thought, diversity of culture, and she's always had this sort of otherworldliness to her where she isn't entirely present on this plane. I'm not sure what that means, honestly, but okay. That's a thing. It does seem to be kind of counter to what Nick was saying about the Davis family vibe being very science, mathematics, but he still seems into her, so all right. And diversity of thought definitely is important in relationships. Being too cookie cutter means you will never grow together. You always have to have somebody who's willing to push the boundaries of what you think and what you say. I have a deep interest in politics, which I don't discuss on my channel because there's no reason to discuss it on my channel. It brings a lot of division in circles like this, and I don't think that that's necessary or appropriate for conversations that we're having. But I like to discuss that with my husband. My husband does not always have the same opinions I do, or does not always have the same interest I do. And so a lot of times he'll push back on things that I think or say, and I have to learn how to think about my own beliefs, my own thoughts, my own feelings very critically in those moments to determine whether or not I'm going with just a gut reaction or if I've actually logically thought through the things that I feel. So that diversity of thought is really important to me because I want to be able to grow as a person myself. He offers his jacket to her, and she declines, saying that she's just not cold yet. And she explains that she has two different goddesses from two different pantheons that watch over her. There's a Buddhist goddess and an old African god. I am not 100% sure how to say them, even though I wrote them out. I just am not, I'm not sure. So I'm not going to try because I don't want to offend anyone. But she says that she was never sure this was who she was supposed to be. But these two individuals resonate with who she is and who she wants to be. And so by that, she felt maybe this is what I'm supposed to do. Nick, for his part, says that he's sure there's going to be lots of evenings to discuss these philosophical ideas. He's like, it's unusual to hear that Jasmine's pagan. He doesn't have an issue with it, but he did feel unprepared and sort of wished that his wives would have given him some advanced warning. They didn't discuss that on the date that we saw. That doesn't mean they didn't discuss it. So they may not have been able to give him that advance warning. He does explain that there are no expectations from the date or expectations of the specific progression of their relationship. They can take time. It won't be easy, but it will be worth it. And there are plenty of things that people have said, it won't be easy, but it will be worth it to me. And they were neither easy nor worth it. Just saying. I don't like platitudes. That one definitely falls flat. Jasmine takes it in stride and says nothing is ever easy all of the time. She goes on to say that not even eating is easy all the time. She asphyxiates a lot. And Nick tells her, slow down and chew your food. To which husband looks up from fixing the garbage disposal, because I was doing this at the same time that I was doing the last one, and goes, did he just say, chew your food? Man's not even watching the show, just listening while fixing. And he's like, I don't know what is happening on your show. I was like, I don't know. But Jasmine's like, I don't have time for that. I don't have time for all that chewing things. So Nick says that all she throws is curveballs. And then he gets extra thirsty. And he's like, I'm dying for a kiss. Okay, sir. She giggles but obliges. And Jasmine's like, the horse ride was pretty romantic. She was able to see some of his interesting traits, like his ability to flaunt without flaunting. And then my husband proceeds to talk in a very strange accent. And he's like, do you even know what you mean? And then he was like, begone. I don't know what's happening right now. This man is just like listening. And you know what? It's helping to write my notes. I'm going to take it because y'all, if you enjoy this, great. I might try to get him to throw some more into other episodes. We'll see. Jasmine's like, Nick is so flashy with a lot of confidence. And Nick felt like they're doing okay, but then she throws in some head scratchers and he really has to think about it. Jasmine operates in her own lane and Nick's like, it's going to take some getting used to. But they decide they're going to continue the date and go find a place to sit and talk. So when we catch up with them again, they're strolling hand in hand and they are going to go have some more conversations. And he's like, you look phenomenal. And she does look lovely. He tells her he's going to have he wants to spend a lot of time on her mind and her psychology, but he doesn't want to give her the impression that he's not interested in the rest of her. He says he doesn't want her body if he can't have access to her mind. And she goes, well, you can't have my body and without having access to the rest of my mind. Keep that in mind. And he's like giggling to himself. He's like, you know what, I like to pace myself. And they agree that it's very easy to get swept up and swept away. And then Nick says the craziest thing I think I've ever heard on any of these shows by saying, I'm going to repeat it. I hate repeating it, so bear with me. He says that his sex is a powerful thing and he can't just give it away just yet. And it was at this moment that I was like, you know, maybe I don't need to finish the show. I can just turn this off now. That is too much, and I am good, and that was a sentence I never ever needed to hear. Thank you. I pressed on because I like you guys, and y'all follow this for some reason. You're on the train wreck with me, so let's just continue. And then he insists he doesn't want her to be wrapped up or caught up until she decides this is where she wants to be. Sir, sir, you're not going to hypnotize her. She'll be okay, I promise. Jasmine tells us she has a tendency to have trouble connecting with people, but she thinks that they're actually really connecting tonight, and she's excited by this. Nick's like, do you think you could see being involved with us permanently? And she says she can. The wives are great, and Nick invites her to spend the weekend with them at the house, just to get to know them better and do a test run, as he calls it. And she goes, listen, I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I really want to take things slowly. And there's a decent pause. And Nick finally says, it's okay, I understand. She's like, patience is the only thing I'm going to ask for. And Nick's like, there's a lot of things he's finding out about Jasmine. Duh, this is a first date. But he loves independent women, so he says he thinks Jasmine's a good candidate for a potential wife. And his biggest concern is not wanting to disrupt the peace and harmony in the home. So when Danielle is waiting up for him because she's restless and wants to find out what happened on this date, she is sitting on the couch missing him, ready for him to come home. And he asks her, what are you doing up? And she's like, I couldn't sleep. I just thought I'd watch some TV. And Nick's pretty wary of that. He asks, he's like, what's going on? Are you just up because you're up? Are you up because you're panicking? You have this anxiety? And Danielle asks, how'd it go? And he said, Jasmine's very beautiful. The conversations were fresh and interesting. And Danielle pushes and goes, did you kiss? And Nick hesitates, gives some laughs, and says, yes, they did. And Danielle kind of swallows hard and blinks at this point. I can tell this is really upsetting for her. He said he hesitated to tell her because he's concerned about her feelings. He tells her that he doesn't know how he would rank it, but it let him know that she was definitely interested. And Danielle, for her part, is trying to stay positive. You can hear this little hitch in her voice occasionally, but she's trying. But the producers ask her how she feels when she's on her own, and she's like, I want to say I've moved past all this jealousy and insecurity, but I haven't. It's still there. And so she sounds like she's about to cry when she's like, do you think it went well? And he does, and she puts on this really positive voice and says, good. He asks her what she might think about Jasmine coming to stay the night. And Danielle's like, so a sleepover! Bringing someone over for a sleepover is a big deal, and she touts all of Jasmine's positive qualities and gives this sort of non-answer. Nick picks up on the non-answer and very pointedly asks her, are you okay with Jasmine staying the night? And Danielle's like, yeah, I think so. But she tells us that sometimes she tells people what they want to hear and not what she's really feeling. She thinks that they're probably moving too fast because to spend the night seems kind of serious. Nick reminds her that her opinion is very important to him. He's not trying to mean that he's putting everything on her, that she is the only person making the choice. She's the deciding factor. But he's putting a lot of weight into her opinion, and she really wants to know what she wants to do. He wants to make sure that she is okay. Danielle's like, maybe we should spend a little bit more time together as a collective, see if this is really an option. Then Nick offers to take her upstairs and knock her out real quick. Gross. She giggles and agrees. So, I don't know. Nick says this situation is delicate and is hoping they're moving at the right pace because he doesn't want Danielle to leave again. Okay. Thanks, Nick. So, the Salahudin family. Fresh off the family fight, the family lunch. Nyla and Naeem are sitting down with Jahari, and Nyla recognizes things were definitely out of control. She makes sure that Jahari's okay, being the third party who got drug into it, and Naeem's like, no one's gonna ask me. Are you 15? Relax. But of course we have to pander to it and ask if he's okay, and why aren't you okay? I don't like that. I just don't. I don't think it's a great quality in men or women to be like that. But he's upset that his wife and his mother were fighting with each other. I wanted to like these two originally. But the more the show goes on, the only sympathetic character that I can even find is Danielle Davis. I'm being honest. Nyla says the turning point in this relationship with Jamila was the moment that their daughter got brought up. Jamila doesn't have a relationship with her and doesn't appear interested in Nyla's opinion. a fostering one. So Naeem sits down and he says that he knew his mother was going to do something, and that's why he asked Nyla to be quiet. And Jahari is simply sitting next to him, looking very disappointed with this whole situation. He shares that what happened between his wife and his mother was something that he never wanted to happen, but sort of seemed inevitable. Jamela doesn't understand the relationship that they have with their daughter and how they communicate with her. Nyla's like, she doesn't like the insinuation that Jamela knows her child, and goes on to say that Jamela doesn't even know how to pronounce her name correctly. So she was saying Harriet, but I believe Nyla said it, she said Haya. I could have that wrong. But she's been raised Muslim, so this is not new to her. Polygamy is what she means, is not new to her. Jahari sort of calls him out and was like, hey, you know Jamela is really uncomfortable with this subject. Why do you continue to force it down her throat? That's a super reasonable question. A question I think that a lot of us are asking, so thank you, Jahari, for putting it out there for us. I think reason number one is the show. I don't have a reason number two, because no one even seems to like Naeem's mother, so I don't know why they keep pushing and pushing. Naeem's like, if I'm going to have a relationship with my mother, and my personal life is changing, she needs to be involved. He doesn't want to just spring it on her one day. She doesn't need to be involved. You can make personal life choices that you don't have to involve her in. Sorry, I know it sucks, but that's the truth. This is a circumstance where you can kind of just take a step back and have to think this through. And that does sort of seem better, in all honesty. And Jahari actually points out that Nyla was being really disrespectful, and she was trying to get this situation under control. She says Jamela was embarrassed, and that it's always a tricky situation to be in because you tend to show your bottom when you're embarrassed. And that's when Jahari's like, everything went left at that point. Jahari notices that everyone seems to push buttons on one level or another with each other. And when you're emotional or your feelings are hurt, she explains, we need to exhibit a level of control. It's a very wise way to put things. Frankly, I think they should probably hang out with this woman more because they could absorb some of that calm into their everyday demeanor. Jahari continues this little weird therapy session by wanting to discuss communication strategies to prevent these situations from happening again. She wants to know, what are your plans if you're never able to resolve this lifestyle choice and Jamela's resistance to it? How are you going to separate these two things? And Naeem's like, I guess if I have to separate them, I will. He doesn't want someone to feel like an outsider when he's with them. And Nyla says, imagine he's taking his wife and their kids, and I'm sitting at home. Naeem says, then we just aren't going. We go as a family or we don't go at all. And Jahari has to go, but I really think she's been a calm presence for these two. And I kind of hope that they'll consider the things that she's asking of them, because she's asking very real, very tough questions. And she wants to stay and hang out, but she's got to go, unfortunately. So Naeem's telling us that he's hurt by this fight with his mother. He's fine that she doesn't accept his lifestyle. That's not true. But he expects respect from her. And I think he has to recognize that he's been really disrespectful to her also. Like, I keep bringing up this weird tactic they have of blindsiding her, and that is definitely disrespectful for sure. Nyla's like, listen, I get that it's probably difficult for Naeem having his wife and his mother fighting, but she knows things went too far, and that Naeem does want a relationship with his mother, so she's holding out hope that Jamela will come around and accept their lifestyle choice. She won't. She won't. He says that he's going to talk to his mother eventually, but things went too far, and he needs some time. As he gets into bed, he says that Nyla and his mother have his head aching. She says, let's not rehash that, in sort of a very keep sweet type of voice. Dear, your entire filming schedule is going to be rehashing this from this point forward. I hate to tell you that, but that's all you're going to do now. They mentioned that they've got challenges on their journey toward polygamy, but they're going to continue pushing forward. Nyla believes in this strongly. She's happy that Jahari came out because listening to her talk, seeing her joy, has really kind of helped her lock down why she wants to do this. They agree that in life you're going to get knocked down, you have to keep moving forward. They know what they want, and they're going to make it happen. They're not giving up, and they're going to keep searching. This sort of feels like a goodbye message from the Salahudin family. If it is, best of luck. If not, see you next week. So, over at the Sherwood house, the producer asking Ashley if she feels good about Sarah, and this question feels very leading and pointed and uncomfortable, and we're about to get into why, because Ashley's like, I feel great. I'm not walking on eggshells, watching every word that I say. She stumbles over explaining how calculated her words don't need to be, and husband goes, that was painful to listen to. And then Ashley shares that she usually just says what's ever on her mind, and she really likes that she can do that with Sarah. It's more comfortable, more natural. And Shane interrupts, is like, somebody is calling you again. It looks like she's been getting regular phone calls and he needs to draw her attention to it. It is actually Sarah. This is very staged. So she answers it on the couch, and Sarah's like, hey, I need to stop by and talk to you. She's already on her way, and I am definitely getting bad vibes at this point, but Ashley has this huge smile on her face, and Shane points out if this is a bad talk, they're going to have a tough time filming the rest of the interview. Sarah arrives, and the music turns somber. Nailed it. She calls Ashley, and she's like, hey, I'm outside. Rather than invite her in, they decide to come out to her. So, bad talk. They hug, Shane grabs some chairs, and Shane is worried because they just agreed to exclusivity last night, and they had talked all through dinner, all this stuff. He's very worried that she's calling this off. Sarah sent a wake-up text this morning, and Ashley was like, it was a great text, I can't imagine. But Sarah explains she was up late thinking, and she was very caught off guard with all this exclusivity talk. They only met last month, they've been on one solo date. She likes them a lot, but things are moving way too fast, and she is just not ready for it in that capacity. She mentions that they say that they get very attached very quickly, and that's fair, but she doesn't think that it's fair to say that because they get attached quickly, she has to also get attached by being in a relationship when she's just not ready for it. Shane's like, now I'm confused. Do you want to continue trying this or not? And Sarah says, being 100% honest, no. She is not ready for that level of commitment, and Ashley is obviously upset. Shane takes point and says, we were caught off guard. Ashley was so excited about Sarah, and Shane thought that she was definitely interested. Sarah apologizes, like, it's not you, it's me. And husband's like, there it is, I told you so. He did. She wanted to tell them personally. She didn't want to just, like, prolong things, make it harder, dump them in a text. And Ashley's like, I'm sorry that you felt that way. It wasn't our intention to make you feel like that. And Sarah's like, listen, I'm glad things are cleared up. And they split off and go their own ways. And Sarah's like, listen, the reason I came to end things in person was because I'm not going to base a major life decision on someone else feeling a particular way and making me feel like I have to do something very specific. Her independence is super important to her, and she's just not ready to allow someone else to have that kind of control over her. Husband's like, yeah, that's super fair. I agree with him. She isn't ready. She shouldn't feel forced to be ready. At least she had the stones to come and tell them face to face. You know, she could have just sent a text and been done, but she wanted to talk to them in person. And I don't think that Shane and Ashley are really taking to heart what she's saying. She's trying to let them know they need to chill out and let things come as they come. Rushing everything is super big, is not going to work for everyone. Inside, Ashley's like, what even was that? And laughs a little bit. She's clearly hurt. That's okay. Shane looks very disappointed. And he's like, I can't believe she effed us over like that. He feels betrayed. It's not fair. Sarah's a more cautious person. She was not ready for the level of commitment that Shane and Ashley were asking of her and sort of pushing for her. And after one date, I would think that's a reasonable way to feel. Just because I met husband a few days before my birthday, and then he wanted to come over for my birthday and spend some time with me, and things really worked out, and obviously, because we've built this life together, doesn't mean that every single person is going to be like, oh, I met you, now I want to get married. Like, this is real life. People have real needs and real feelings, and Shane's allowed to have his feelings too. He is. He's allowed to have his feelings too, but they need to also be able to take this experience to heart and sort of grow and learn that you can't force everyone to be in the same box that you're in, especially the same box at this commitment level. So maybe take some time off, focus on the new baby and cancer screenings before you rush into another relationship. But he continues to be angry and says, what kind of person gives you false hope and then rips it out from under you? And Ashley's like less than 24 hours later, no less. He swears up a storm and insists that he knew from the get-go this was going to be bad. So Ashley says she doesn't even know what just happened. She's just confused because this isn't what she thought was going to happen today. Shane's like, are you okay? I'm fine, she says while crying. She's allowed to feel hurt and upset. She's allowed to have her space to feel hurt and upset. She doesn't have to play it strong. But she continues to kind of just sort of play it off, and she's like, when things are back and forth, you just don't know what to expect. So when we check back in with Shane and Ashley, they're making dinner, and surprise, there is a new little person with them, and he is actually kind of cute. Most tiny babies are pretty cute. They're enjoying dinner all together, and they say that they're really feeling better about how things had gone with Sarah. Shane's like, we dodged a bullet there because she wasn't being honest with us from the get-go. Oh, so you did not take any time to try and understand. Got it. I disagree with him. He has his feelings, whatever. I thought Sarah was actually really upfront, and she even said that it was going to take her time to feel comfortable being in an exclusive relationship while this was developing. But you know what? You all are pushy. You wanted things now, and you have reaped the reward of that. Ashley says having a sister wife is still on their priority list, but they're taking a pause while they adjust to having a new baby. Shane says that it's really tough on Ashley's body being postpartum, which is a little weird. Ashley's like, and the time. There's just no time for dating. She's like, this is important to our journey, but they've got other things. They got Shane's results back from his cancer screening, and things are good. No new growth on the growths. They agree that they cannot let it go on like that again. They need to be more proactive and get the scans done on time. He's supposed to go back in 6 months for another, and Ashley is very grateful that there have been no changes, but they promise to each other that they will make sure that they get done. And now that they've had the second baby, they kind of feel like they can plan better. They went fast, Shane says. They got married. They had a kid. They had another kid. And now it's just sort of time to kick back and enjoy a little bit. Ashley is still interested in exploring, and the end goal will be to find someone to not just be in a relationship with them, but to do life with, co-parent, and do everything together. Make those memories. She says, we love each other. And Shane says, we do. I do feel like this is our goodbye to the Sherwoods for this season. Maybe, maybe not. If it is, I wish them luck. But so far, the Sailor Houdins and the Sherwoods, the way that their segments have ended, kind of felt like, hey, bye. You're going to be dealing with the Merrifields, the Ryans, and the Davises for the rest of the season. I could be wrong, but we'll see. So, that is episode 11. A lot of things. The date with Jasmine, like I said, was super fun. I thought it was a cute idea. I am seeing it tossed around that it's perhaps possible that the Jasmine storyline may be entirely fake because she knew them before. I can't say for sure. I kind of avoided giving myself spoilers until I'd seen the episodes because, you know, things were so wild here and out of control. But we'll see. We'll see. I'll do a little digging and see if I can come up with anything. If you're interested more in that, I believe that at least one person said Nikki Haverstock has photos that may prove that on her channel. Go check her out. She is one of my favorite recappers. I haven't seen a lot of her stuff recently because I've been so busy I can't watch YouTube. I can barely make my own videos, let alone watch everyone else's. I'm sorry. But I do really enjoy her. If you're looking for someone else who's actually really fantastic in this sister wives genre, senior perspective, she is great. Go watch her stuff too. I absolutely love her. And those are just two people that you can go check out for more information. I know in this community, we all are pretty well aware of the big players, but just in case you've missed somebody, those are two you should be checking out. Other than that, like I said, Sunday is birthday and anniversary. So like I said, I'm not going to be answering comments or anything like that during that time. But when I get back Monday, I will definitely be looking to hear from you guys. I want to get episode 12 out tomorrow. Or if nothing else, put it live first thing Sunday morning, depending on how long it takes the videos to render. Because it's going to take a while for this one, and then I'm going to have to get the other one up and going too. So, we'll see. So if you don't hear from me over the weekend, that's where I'll be. Because tomorrow's Thursday, so maybe that'll go out Friday. And if we're really lucky, maybe I'll get a Sister Wives recap in, just squeak one in under the buzzer so that we can kind of hang out together a little bit before all of that. So, that's where we're at right now. I am excited to hear what you guys think down in the comments below. Also, if you did not watch my recap for episode 11, as of filming this, no one has seen the little Easter egg in the comment section down below. You might want to at least, take a peek. If someone else has already picked up on it by then, sorry, but it's still pretty funny. And, yeah, take a look at that and see what you think. You don't even have to watch the video if you just want to take a look at the comment section and see what in the world is Cozy talking about. There is something hidden there. Well, not even hidden, but there's something there that you guys might be interested in. All right, so that's enough for me. I will see you guys all soon. Bye-bye!